This video is brought to you by the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. Go to patreon.com/discgolfnerd. Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my review of the Latitude 64 Opto Pure. We're going to be putting with them, we're going to be throwing them, I'm going to compare them to other discs you might be familiar with. I'm going to be showing you some Opto Pures as well and talking about some of the differences, all that and more, so stay tuned and let's get into it. Alright everybody, we are back. We got a whole bunch of these Pures to show off today on the channel. Big shout out to Dynamic Discs for hooking me up with this beautiful pair of blue Opto Pures here. You can tell that I like them a little bit based on the fact that I bought all these other ones. But we're going to get into it. We're going to show all that different stuff and more in this video as we typically do. But yeah, definitely go check out dynamicdiscs.com. You know them, you love them. They got all the great plastic from Westside, DD, Latitude 64, all the bags, all the carts, everything you need. They've been a huge supporter here on the channel for years and years now, and I really appreciate continuing to work with DD going forward as well. But yeah, they sent me this blue pair right here, and I started testing them, and they pretty quickly went into my bag for further testing and to determine whether or not I can effectively use the Pure as my main putter, and it has been my main putter since then. I putted with these blue ones for a little bit. As you can see, they have a little bit of wear on them, but then I moved on to some other ones. So let me show you the whole gang here before we go any further. So like I said, I have Optos as well. I dyed this one. It's been in the bag for the last few rounds now, and I'm loving it, throwing it on a lot of shots. And I have this one as a backup. So, Opto one, awesome, more of a thrower. Could totally putt with it. Like, if I was going to play a one-disc round, that's probably the disc I'm using right now. Either that or a harp, based on my recent throwing, my recent bag setup. But yeah, it putts fine. It's really no big deal. And then I have more of these Ecos as well. These are the two that I'm actually putting with right now. These are the two that are in my bag. These two are backups, but I just wanted to show you these real quick because of how beautiful. Just plain black and white. I love this really simple stamp. I love the little leaf. The Eco logo, solid. There are your flight numbers for all you flight number guys out there. 3, 3, -1, and 1. I would say those are pretty spot on for the most part. I would say the Opto could maybe have a 2 for fade. Definitely has a little bit more stability to it at the end, but these are very neutral, good flying discs. Let's put those back on the shelf. Let's put these back in my bag. You guys don't really need to see these, and I have my ink on them and stuff, but you can see how much wear real quick that they've taken on as my main putters. I just use this pair right here. I don't know what happened right here. Let's get a close-up of this. This is interesting. I honestly think this was caused by a like blackberry thorns. I think the thorns cut into the disc, and then maybe some blackberry juice got in there. That's my best guess as to why there's purple stains on my putters, but that's the only way I differentiate with them. So I just pretty much grab whichever one I grab and I putt with it, and they've been working quite well. We're going to compare them to some other discs in a little bit here, but first let's take a closer look at the Opto Pure. So the Eco plastic is very, very firm and has like almost no flexibility to it. You have to really bear down on it to get it to even move that much. Very, very stiff, rigid plastic. Not as grippy as a lot of the other Latitude plastics as well. So our first comparison is going to be with the Zero Medium Keystone, which was the last disc I was bagging as my main putter right before these Pures. Love this disc as well. I just like the feel of the Pures. A little bit more stable, even though the turn and the fade is exactly the same. Maybe just the fact they're a touch faster allows them to have a little bit more speed when you pop them out there. But here's Medium. So with a similar amount of flex, you can see it moves much more. Has some give under the thumb, where the Eco really does not. Very firm plastic, kind of akin to like a KC Pro plastic and feel, and not too far off from like a Zero Hard plastic, but I don't have a lot of that to show you. I would say the Eco is probably similar in flexibility or lack of flexibility to the Zero Hard, but maybe not quite as grippy. Like the Medium has a lot more of a kind of rubbery grip that digs into your hand a little better. So let's take a closer look at the design of the Pure. It is really, really comfortable, really smooth. All the ones I have are like 174 or so, by the way, so don't worry about that. They're all the same basically, but these are really clean. The way these are manufactured right now, like there's no real flashing. There's no hot spots or sharp edges at all. That's one of the things that really stuck with me taking these out of the box and feeling them for the first time, is just how smooth and clean they feel. And there you can get a pretty good look at the design close up. And as we back it up a little bit, you can also see that they're pretty flat, especially on the right on the top there. It fluctuates a little bit. The Optos definitely seem to be, they feel a little bit less flat, I'll say that. But it's not exactly puddle top. Some of them have a slight dome, but you can see how nice and flat these are. My camera stops freaking out. There we go. All in all, really like the feel of them. I really like the smooth, beadless edge here. It feels good in my putting grip, and I just like them. And I've never really used a really firm, rigid plastic putter as my main putter before. It's just something I never really did. And that's part of why I switched to these, to be honest, just out of curiosity. How will they work for me over time? And all in all, I am really liking them. And I feel like when I don't mess it up, they do have a more consistent release from the hand. So kind of confirming that old theory of why most pro players use the firmer plastics. You know, it's rare that you see a high-level pro out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour who's putting with like a zero soft plastic. Usually more reserved for approach discs, to use that softness on the ground play rather than catching in the chains, as was the old kind of philosophy there. These probably do have more likelihood to bounce or pop out of the basket, but not so much that it really is going to deter me from using them based on my initial testing so far. So let's do some side-by-sides here, as we like to do. And here it is next to the Keystone. So you can see the Keystone is probably just as shallow, if not slightly more. Really hard to tell. It's always a difficult thing to see there. But the main difference here on the Keystone is this big flat edge on the underside here. It rolls over this flat underside edge here, which I do really like the way that feels in my hand, and part of why I switched to the Keystones. Part of the reason why I switched away from them is that occasionally, if I pop them out there too flat, they just don't kind of hook up on those longer putts for me. The Pure has a little bit more speed at the end of the putt, so I can kind of lay it out there high on hyzer and play for a little bit more of a drop, which I like from longer range. I find that more consistent, gives me a chance to kind of give it a bid, but it's not like going to go super far if I miss. So I really like that type of a floaty run. Let's take a look at something else. This one's way out of left field. This is the Luft Discs Hydrogen in Beta Solid. So this is their more baseline plastic. I don't know if you guys saw my Luft Hydrogen review. Very unique disc, super slow, very stable in the true sense of the word, where it really just holds on those angles. And I just thought that would be a fun one to throw next to the Pure here, so you can see how much deeper it is with that kind of frisbee shape to it than the Pure. And this one is kind of opposite to the Keystone, where it's a very gradual angle on this underside here, and it really doesn't have much of a flat edge on the underside. And finally, we have the Sensei from Discmania, and this one I'm going to compare to the Opto Pure, just out of curiosity, because I feel like these look really similar to my eye. Let's see if I can get these lined up particularly well so you can get a good sense of it. There you go. They feel really similar in the hand. There's definitely some slight differences, hard to kind of verbalize those, but you guys can see the differences there. This Sensei in Active Premium, very, very firm, rigid premium plastic, but it does feel quite nice, and the dye job came out good. Look for a full review on that guy eventually as well. So, the feel is great on the Ecos. They're my main putters. I'm enjoying them very much. The Opto is Opto. It's my favorite plastic blend on the market. So when a disc I like is available and flies good and is coming out of the molds clean in the Opto plastic, which is kind of tricky for some of the putters, I guess, or a little bit trickier to run in Opto. But man, Opto Pure, disc I had in the bag many years ago, and one that I'm planning to continue to have in the bag from here on out, honestly, because it just flies so good. Almost gets into like mid-range distances with the glide and the carry of this disc. So nice. So I don't have a lot of throwing footage on that one, maybe just 1 or 2 shots. I forget what I have for you, but I will show you guys some more shots with that disc in my next in the bag video for sure. And yeah, the Opto Pure, really, really nice. I definitely prefer it throwing a lot over the Ecos. Now, that's not to say I can't throw the Ecos backhand, but I basically don't at all. I'm just putting with them, and I'm just using that Opto one because it really does all the same things, but it's a little bit more stable. It handles a little bit more torque. As you see the Ecos out in the field, you're going to see that they're pretty understable. Now, keep in mind there was some wind in the field when we were testing these, and the flight footage you're taking a look at now. If you're seeing me throwing them left to right towards the soccer goal, that was with the wind. I was trying to kind of play the wind, so that's why they're really kind of pulling over to the right. So keep all that in mind in the field, as always, I guess, but it's tough to represent all that stuff. But I would say the Ecos are very, very straight to understable as a thrower, and the Opto is just extremely neutral with a slight fade at the end of the flight, and it holds up in the air for so long. But these are great for kind of short-range approaches as well, but I am using them exclusively for my main putter. I like the fact that I can put them out there pretty flat without them veering off to the right or fading too much on shorter putts. But then on longer putts, as I said earlier, I can pop them out there a little higher and let the fade kind of dig and drop them in down towards the basket. Now, my putting's been pretty bad. I bet you the footage you guys are watching is probably not very impressive either. My putting's just been all over the place, but it's mostly a confidence issue, and I'm messing around with my grip and all these different things. So take the putting footage with a grain of salt here, but all in all, it's a really solid disc, and the Pure is one that I've always known about. As I said, I had the Opto Pure in the bag many years ago, and I lost it. I didn't find another one, or I just didn't have the money to replace it, or whatever happens in life. And I was just throwing other discs. There's a million other great discs out there, and I just hadn't really revisited the Pure, fumble, dropping stuff, until after these Ecos came out, and DD sent me this pair to test and to review. So that kind of revitalized my interest in the mold, and I'm really glad it did, because I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I probably will end up getting a soft eventually to put in the bag for certain approach shots maybe, or in the woods and stuff like that. But for the most part, the Opto is working super well as a thrower, very straight to neutral, but has enough integrity that you can throw it really hard without it like flipping and rolling on you very much. But you can also throw it left to right smooth, and hyzers and all that stuff. So it's a really, really great all-around approach disc. And then I'm pairing that with the Harp. And with those two discs, I mean, the last few rounds, I haven't carried my Caltrep, I haven't carried a soft magnet. I'm not even really throwing the Gobi as much because I can throw the Pures. So it's really interesting how my bag has kind of developed, going back and trying more of these older, more established discs. And honestly, all of my favorite discs right now are older discs from Latitude. And one of the reasons why I am sticking with the Harp and the Pure, or at least I'm planning to, is because they're readily available and they are popular discs that I don't think are ever going to go out of production. Kind of planning your bag has become a little bit of a different exercise in the kind of recent times with things being out of stock and the way everything's been going. So Pure is one of those discs I'm quite confident Latitude will continue to make for the foreseeable future, probably much longer than I continue to play disc golf, and I feel the same way about the Harp and the Fuse and stuff. So that's kind of why I've been leaning on those molds, and I just can't deny that they're flying awesome. So that's my review on the Eco Pure. If I have not rambled enough to you guys about these discs for you to get the idea, they're essentially point and shoot. I try not to say that too much because it's cliche, but they really are. As a putter, they're neutral. Pop them out there, they hold the angle, and they fly straight into the basket. But you can also bend them around the corner from right to left or left to right. They fly quite straight to understable as you power them up on approach and backhand throws. For the Eco Pures, Opto a little bit more throwable for me for full power backhand throws off the tee and on longer approaches. That's my review on the Eco and the Opto Pure. Thank you once again to our friends at Dynamic Discs for hooking me up with these discs to test and review. Enormous thank you to the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team as well. You guys are amazing and make a huge difference in my ability to continue to be able to make this content. I appreciate you all. So, thank you all for watching. I will talk to you very soon. Cheers.